On this episode of Phinside The NFL, we are going to preview the Miami Dolphins offense heading into training camp that starts in just under 2 weeks. I will also provide my prospect profiles for Jonah Savaiinaea, Ollie Gordon II, as well as Quinn Ewers. That's in-depth scouting reports and all-22. So, do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new. Let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are really this time back here for another one. Take two after we just had a little bit of a powder outage on take one. So like I said in the other one, I'll say it again. Really need your support. The minimum you could do, smash that like button. It takes 2 seconds. If you're new here, subscribe, hit that notification bell. But if you have the chance to do like Knight did in the first attempt, donate, because there is a Steiner math 136% chance that this video is going to be demonetized by the likes of Catapult Sports, XOS Digital, because of the fact that I'm bringing the all-22 to you guys, of these kids. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not sacrificing the quality of what we do over here on Phinside The NFL and the quality of my videos just for a couple bucks. Now, this week we are previewing the offense. Next weekend, we are going to be previewing the defense and special teams. I'll have prospect profiles on Kenneth Grant as well as Dante Trader Jr. in that video as well. So make sure you tune in next Sunday or Saturday for that video, all right? Now, back to where I was headed. I got a few things I do want to talk about. Now, as we know, second round picks, well, there's only been 2 that have signed from the 2025 NFL draft so far with their teams, and that's Jaden Higgins with the Texans, as well as Carson Schwessinger with the Browns. Now, both of those players were selected before the Miami Dolphins traded up with the Raiders to take Jonah Savaiinaea at 37, but the point still stands, all right? Yesterday was kind of a wild day for second round picks if you didn't have a chance to hear about it. So basically, the deadline for Chargers rookies to report, that was yesterday. And a second round pick, Trey Harris, he's a holdout. Trey Harris from Ole Miss, a guy I was quite high on. He's holding out. He is just not, he's starting it. He's being the first to take an official stand for those second round picks to get guaranteed money. All right. And hey, all the power to them, right? All the power to them. Now, what's interesting is not too long after that news broke, only about 2.5 hours after that news broke, Quinshon Judkins, the other Cleveland Brown draft pick, all right? And remember, he was drafted before, all right? He was the pick right before Jonah Savaiinaea. Rookie Browns running back Quinshon Judkins was arrested on a domestic violence and battery charge in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on Saturday, according to the Fort Lauderdale Police Department and Broward County arrest records. Former Dolphin beat writer Daniel Oifusi, the homie, my friend, he's on top of that one. I'm just going to say this, the contrast, what a matter of hours can change, where Trey Harris is up here taking a stand for second round picks, the first one to officially hold out, and then 2 hours later, it gets blown up in the face of second round picks with Quinshon Judkins getting this. Like, I can tell you right now, Quinshon Judkins is not getting no guaranteed contract coming off a domestic violence and battery charge, especially with all the nonsense for guaranteeing all the money they gave to Watson and how that's worked out. And this is the pick right for Savaiinaea. This could derail the guaranteed money play for second round picks. And what's crazy to me is, like, dog, you haven't signed your rookie deal. Why aren't you being like an outstanding citizen? You want to go wild out? Get your money first. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, anyone will tell you that. Like, that's just crazy. So, man, Trey Harris taking a stand for second round picks. Then literally only hours later, Quinshon Judkins doing a lot of damage to the stance second round picks are not, are making about not signing without fully guaranteed deals. Now, yes, Savaiinaea and others who haven't signed are going to say, okay, well, the Browns didn't guarantee his money, or the Browns didn't give him a contract because of that charge. My guy's clean. My guy has no history. That said, if you are in the second round and you have a little bit of a history, this is going to hurt you. This is going to hurt you pretty badly. And, now the problem with this is like, even if you have a history now, they're putting that into doubt. I'll give you a perfect example. In the second round at pick 59 went Mike Green, the kid out of Marshall. The Ravens took him. Now, I reported this privately, but I'll say this publicly now that everything's happened. Basically, if you look into if you talk to people, this is what was found about Mike Green. This is why he dropped so hard, for all of you who don't know what happened, okay? He was first of all, in high school, he was accused of, SEXUAL assault, by an ex-girlfriend. Now, as teams dug into it, what they saw and what they found was, okay, that just might be a lover's quarrel, right? That just might be a ex that's really bitter. Now, at the same time, whether she was bitter or not, she absolutely tanked his recruiting with that. And, he ended up having to go to Virginia. Now, Virginia gave him a scholarship, but a no-nonsense scholarship. Like, no tolerance, zero tolerance, you screw up, you're out. Well, in the first year of being at Virginia, he was now accused of RAPE. All right? And from what NFL teams found by looking into that was much more of a, how do I say this? There was a lot more evidence backing the claim that it might be true based on what NFL teams were finding out. And that's why he ended up at Marshall. Virginia cut ties with him, got rid of him, and he had to go to Marshall. So now when you got that kind of a muddied and cloudy history, find the Ravens, Quinshon Judkins has now messed up any chance of anyone who has anything pending or anything in their past that's very questionable. And if I'm the Ravens, I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, you're not exactly an angel. Sorry, dude. You know what I mean? Why do I feel like I'm in Sesame Street now? Because, just on social media, you got to spell those things out now or work your way around them. Because, they pick those things up when you actually say them. So that's why it's a workaround, right? So plus, kids might be watching too, so we don't want to get into that, even though I click not made for people under 18, but we'll see. So I find it very interesting how just a matter of 2.5 hours, it just, they went from, okay, they got a stronghold to like, oh boy, at least some of us are going to get affected in the second round by what Judkins just did. So, very interesting, man. And hey, let's hope we don't get a holdout with Jonah. Let me tell you that. Reason, what is even the goal of this season coming? Like, it feels set up for failure. And if that is the case, then just fire Grier and McDaniel now. I think the goal of this season is from Ross's standpoint. You guys didn't listen to Shore last year, my guy, who didn't want to give money to Tua, didn't want to give money to Tyreek. He was right. I'm not opening the checkbook like I have. You guys built this roster. Show me something. All right? You guys are injured every year. All right, cool. No excuse this year. Let's see what you got. These guys are healthy again. This is the roster you built. I'm not going to keep opening the checkbook. These guys are all healthy and coming back. Let's see if you can make it work. That's what the goal from Ross's standpoint is. I think the goal from McDaniel and Grier's standpoint is, let's go get a playoff win. McDaniel's goal is minimum a winning season and to make the playoffs, because then he can go to Ross and say, hey, see, look at, I can blah, 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 blah. Now, whether he's right or not, that's a different conversation for another day. And the players, I think the players, from my standpoint, they know they didn't live up to everyone's expectations, and they didn't live up to their own last year. Now the pressure's alleviated a little bit because no one expects a lot. So I think now their goal is to, hey, let's surprise everyone. That's basically what they're saying, right? Their goal is now, let's surprise everyone. Let's show these guys. So, but good question. Good question. All right. What's the goal for this season? All right. Now, smash that like button, people. Smash that like button right now, please. All right. Do me that favor and smash it. So, let's keep it moving. And let's get into previewing this offense heading into 2025 training camp. And let's start off with the depth chart and how I see it heading into camp. All right. So, this is how I see it. At quarterback, obviously, Tagovailoa, Zach Wilson, Quinn Ewers, and Brett Gabbert. I think Brett Gabbert's nothing more than a training camp body. I wouldn't expect very much from him at all. Quinn Ewers and Zach Wilson, that's going to be the backup to watch. But, we'll talk about it a little bit more when I break down Quinn Ewers here in a bit. But, the guaranteed money they gave Zach Wilson, I don't expect him, unless he gets injured, I don't expect Zach Wilson being booted from that second spot. The running back room. Now, Nate Noel, I think that's another, training camp body. I don't think it's much more than that, but Ollie Gordon and Alexander Madison at running back 3 is going to be a very interesting battle to watch. You know what I mean? I don't have uber high expectations for a guy like Alexander Madison this year. Especially with, look at Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, Ollie Gordon. Those are all draft picks. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're gonna throw their weight in terms of coaching, reps, and opportunities probably behind those guys. At fullback, Alec Ingold returning. We always wonder, are we ever going to see 2022 again where it looked like, they were going to make him, a piece in that offense in terms of catching the football. He has upside at that. And, I just, oh yeah, Robert Jones is gone. Yeah, I don't know why my guy put it on there. Robert Jones is out of here right now. Scratch Robert Jones off that list. Ex-receiver Tyreek Hill, Eric Izukama, Theo Weiss, and Tariq Black. Theo Weiss and OTAs in training camp has been looking actually like really, really good. He's been looking quite good actually. So listen, I got Eric Izukama number 2 on the depth chart, but I do not see him. Man, he better show something because Eric Izukama is going to get passed over. You know, real talk. Eric Izukama is going to be out of here. He's going to be gone and passed over. So I don't see. I don't know, man. I don't. Eric Izukama better have a big camp. Theo Weiss Jr., that's a kid who's making a lot of noise right now. Out of the slot, and yes, you could put Nick Westbrook-Ikhine here, but I got Malik Washington, D. Eskridge, Tajay Washington, and Monterey Baldwin, guys who are better fits, right? They're better fits in the slot for what they do, what the strengths of their game are, right? As that F receiver, as that option for you. Jalen Waddle at Z receiver as number 1, and that's where I got Nick Westbrook-Ikhine too, along with Andrew Armstrong and AJ Henning. Now Andrew Armstrong, I think a lot of us have hopes for him because he led the SEC in receiving, you know, and it's not like he had a polished quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa throwing the ball. You know, he had Taylon Green throwing him the ball. Taylon Green's a good prospect, but nowhere near the passer Tua Tagovailoa is. That's for sure. All right. Monterey Baldwin, you know, I don't know if I see him really making this team. I know there's some serious upside to the kid and what he's got, but I don't know. I don't know. Now, again, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, I think you're going to see him in the slot too, right? You know, so I think I think Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is going to flex between all 3 positions. You know, I think he's going to be versatile. I just literally put him there. All right. So, you know, now remember the Z, you can line up off the line of scrimmage. You know, that's the guys you want to throw in motion. X is more tethered, but I mean, they're going to flip all these guys around. Guys are going to be playing between X, F, and Z. You're going to see Tyreek as an F, Waddle as an F, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be everywhere, right? Now, at tight end, the Y, Darren Waller. He's a guy you're going to see as the F2. You're going to see him in that slot too, probably. Darren Waller, Julian Hill, Pharaoh Brown, Tanner Connor, Hayden Rucci, and Jalen Conyers. Now, I think Julian Hill and Pharaoh Brown are just going to get a ton of opportunities. I think Pharaoh Brown, especially when they're in 11 personnel, you're going to see the Julian Hill and Pharaoh Brown show, basically. Darren Waller, you know, more 12. And see, with Darren Waller, you know, I think he's competent in line, but they're not going to like him in terms of what he can do as a blocker as much as a Pharaoh Brown or a Julian Hill. Tanner Connor, can you stay healthy to offer us something? That's the main question with him. Hayden Rucci and Jalen Conyers. I mean, you know, I had high hopes for Jalen Conyers, but the issue is, I mean, you look at how there's 6 guys, and the problem is the first 3 I see like, how are you going to jump them? You know, they're in on Darren Waller. So apparently Darren Waller's in like outstanding shape, and the Dolphins just rushed to sign him when they saw the kind of shape he was in. So I just don't see anyone. It's going to be hard for the back 3 to jump the front, any of the front for 3. That's for sure. Left tackle, Patrick Paul, Larry Borum, Ryan Hayes, Ted Cushy. I don't think Ted Cushy makes his team. Remember UDFA that we added. Ryan Hayes has been here for a minute. Hasn't done very well, but he's been here for a minute. Larry Borum, I think you can see him between left guard and left tackle. You know, again, I was told to watch his game at left guard a couple years ago when it came to him. So, And then Patrick Paul, obviously the starter. Left guard, Jonah Savaiinaea and Josh Preby. Robert Jones is on this list by mistake. So, I mean, Josh Preby, to me, he's a good athlete. It kind of reminds me of the Andrew Myers situation last year, where you're kind of thin on depth at guard, really. You know, really, James Daniels, Cameron Jackson Carman, Josh Preby, Liam Eichenberg, and Jonah Savaiinaea. I mean, there is a chance that Josh Preby, stays locked in on this team. Really, he should be, Robert Jones shouldn't be on this list. He's in Dallas now. It should be Josh Preby there. But, there's a world where he's our left guard, he's our second left guard. And what's interesting, too, is if Jonah Savaiinaea stays held out, okay, then now what? Liam Eichenberg, he's most comfortable at right guard, like where I have him here. He's come out and said that to us, right? So James Daniels and Liam Eichenberg and Jonah Savaiinaea and Josh Preby are really on your true guards. This is why I've told you what I just said about Borum. I've heard they want to try Borum at left guard as well. He's not just going to be a left tackle. He's going to be a left guard as well. Center, Aaron Brewer, Andrew Meyer, Addison West. Addison West, another one of those UDFAs we added this year. Andrew Meyer locked in as a center too. I don't see him getting jumped. Right guard, James Daniels and Liam Eichenberg. Now, I guess you could play Jackson Carman or Keon Smith there too. I personally wouldn't. I'd feel more comfortable if we added another guard to the situation, but right guard, James Daniels and Liam Eichenberg. You see it right in front of you. If James Daniels looks like a guy who's still suffering from a Achilles injury, that ain't going to be good, because that means Liam Eichenberg's up, and there's not much choice around it. Same thing at right tackle. If Austin Jackson goes down, you're now stuck with Keon Smith, Jackson Carman, or kicking Jonah Savaiinaea over to right tackle, and then kicking Eichenberg to left guard. And if Daniels and Jackson go down, Now what's your solution? You got to move Eichenberg to right guard, Preby at left guard, and then at right tackle, what do you is that where Jonah goes? Like, you look at the depth on this team, and again, Robert Jones, he shouldn't be on this list. He's in Dallas. You look at the depth on this list. This depth is awful. This depth is not good at all on that offensive line. That right side, James Daniels dealing with an Achilles injury, and Austin Jackson, he got hurt again at OTAs. Sorry, my bad, at mandatory minicamp. I apologize. So, that's very suspicious, that depth, man. And Utah PHINS fans, why not stay positive? We don't know what's going to happen. That's why you have to use history to project certain things. Like, what does history tell you? Tua is probably going to get hurt this year. Your backup solution is a guy in Zach Wilson who's not a scheme fit, and a kid you just drafted in the 7th round in Quinn Ewers, who at least he's a scheme fit. But let's stick with the offensive line. What does history tell you? Guys coming off Achilles injuries, it takes a while for them to look like the guy they were before the Achilles injury. Okay, so that's not good for James Daniels. What does history tell you about Austin Jackson? Austin Jackson's hurt more than Tua Tagovailoa. Like, that's literally a fact. So, yeah, you can stay positive, but the problem is when history keeps repeating itself like it has with some of these players, and you keep doing the same thing over and over again, well, that's a definition of insanity. So, I think there is evidence, I think there is a history to be skeptical. And to be justifiably skeptical. So, I'm not saying the world's ending and, woe's me and woe's all Dolphin fans, but there is a lot of evidence and reason, funny enough, to be skeptical. I'm not going to argue anyone. I won't argue anyone that says, hey, if they stay healthy, they can win 12 games. Just like I won't argue anyone that say, yo, this team might only win 7 or 8 games because that offensive line might be injured and Tua might miss time. I won't argue either one of you. Because both have valid points. They really should, Michael Lombardo says, what about Isaiah Wynn? Yeah, they should bring Isaiah Wynn back for sure. But again, what does history tell you with Isaiah Wynn? He's hurt all the time. He's hurt all the time. So is he even going to be able to stay healthy? Are you going to be flushing more money down the toilet? Just like history tells us, Julian Hill is a disaster, and we're going to have a lot of drives killed and going to have a lot of offensive penalties because of him. So we'll see. We'll see. Now with Darren Waller, people are probably going to see it. Why'd you have him first on your tight end depth chart? Because, dude, I've heard this guy is in incredible shape. Like I heard when the Dolphins found out and saw what kind of shape he was, that's when they made the move. And they're like, okay, let's make this happen. So I think, listen, I've said this before. Art Stapleton talked about Darren Waller. He said, in the 2023 training camp and, offseason, he said he's never seen a more dominant player at Giants camp in all of his years covering. And that's 20 plus years. So that's Saquon, that's OBJ, everyone. You give me 75% of that and we're good to go. Now, the only question I'm going to have for Darren Waller is 2022, 2023, he had a nagging hamstring injury. Is his body going to hold up against the rigors of the NFL season and all the contact that comes with it? That's the only question I'm going to have for him. If his body can hold up, then we're good to go. Now, I do agree with this. At least with Isaiah Wynn, it is at a backup capacity. I agree with this. For me, that's less of a worry, as he should, be able to only play 5 to 6 games. I agree with that. Isaiah Wynn, like backing up Jonah Savaiinaea or James Daniels, whoever ends up there, I agree 110%. 110%. That way, that scenario we just went over where, okay, Austin Jackson and James Daniels doesn't look ready at the, let's say James Daniels isn't ready for the start of the season. Austin Jackson gets hurt in training camp. Knock on wood that doesn't happen. Well, okay, we can kick Savaiinaea to right tackle. You can move good old Wynn to left guard, and at least you're keeping Eichenberg at his own self-admitted most comfortable position. Is that ideal? No. But, it's better than having to put Josh Preby out there or Larry Borum. So, yeah, I agree with that. I really do. And, listen, Will Hernandez, I've talked about him. I'd go sign him right now. But Will Hernandez isn't, there's a reason why he's still out on the market. Right? And someone asked a good question. Why sign Liam? I mean, brother, your answer's probably as good as mine. I mean, we're all baffled and befuddled. Maybe it's better to dance with the devil you know than the devil you don't. And that's why he was cheap. I don't know. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, really. So you traded up for this guy, and he has given you nowhere near the value back on that trade up. I do not see the value. Even though he wasn't supposed to be on that depth chart and he was there by accident, I did a video why Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg weren't viable starters last year, and they decided to go the whole freaking season with them. A guy on YouTube is breaking this down and studying the film and showing you the film, and yet NFL professionals are letting it slide. That's very worrisome to me. And I've talked about this for years. It happened under the Flores regime. It happened under McDaniel regime. Yeah, I can watch film. Yeah, I know what I'm watching about. But I shouldn't be constantly more correct than, especially when it comes to evaluations and scheme fits, to the guys that are building the scheme themselves and constructing the roster themselves. That should be way below my pay grade. Yet somehow, I got people in the chat coming in, well, they should pay a reason because, you can do a better job than them. That's what's crazy. I don't even say that as a Barry Harwood's pat on my back. That should make, that makes me look at them sideways. It's crazy when you actually think about it. So, especially when these guys have been in the league for over 20 years, some of them. Oh my God. All right. Let's get into some prospect profiles. Please do me the favor, smash the like button. If you are new, go ahead and subscribe. If you can donate, go ahead and donate because we're about to get demonetized. We've entered that part of the video. So let's start off with, look at the nickname I got for this guy. I think you guys are going to like this one. Huh? As I like to call him, the nickname for him is we've got the Samoan Sniper in Tua, and in Jonah Savaiinaea, we got the Samoan Shield, baby. Since Robert Hunt departed for Carolina on a massive 5-year, $100 million contract, and Isaiah Wynn missed last season due to injury, there's been a glaring void in the interior offensive line that the Miami Dolphins fans have been begging the table for Chris Greer and company to fill. They got off to a good start this offseason by signing former Pittsburgh Steelers offensive guard James Daniel, but really took their efforts to a new level we hadn't seen since they regrettably traded up for Liam Eichenberg in 2021 by once again trading up, this time with the Las Vegas Raiders, to select one of my biggest draft man crushes this year, that being Arizona offensive tackle and guard Jonah Savaiinaea with the 37th pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. Savaiinaea is 6'4", 324 pounds. Great length to his massive frame. He has 10-inch and a quarter hands and almost 34-inch arms. But one thing Miami Dolphins fans will love about him is that Savaiinaea, he's the type of player on the offensive line that will change the on-field culture of this team and help it shed the finesse label offensively. The versatility that he offers across the offensive line will be well received too, as he took snaps at right tackle, left tackle, and right guard during his time at Arizona, which, given the injury history of the Miami Dolphins right tackle Austin Jackson, it's a relief to know we have a player who can kick out there in a pinch with the type of athleticism and power Savaiinaea possesses. So the screen game and outside zone running game doesn't suffer as badly as it has when Jackson has been absent on the right side in recent years. Not only did Savaiinaea go to the same high school as Tua Tagovailoa, which was St. Louis High Catholic School in Hawaii, but also stood out during the draft process to me was his fierce loyalty as a player in person. When asked why he didn't transfer to a bigger school than Arizona, Savaiinaea was adamant it's because he wanted to bring a Pac-12 championship and then a Big 12 championship to the school, which hasn't won a conference title since '94 and a division title since 2014. Had he wanted to transfer, though, I'm sure a lot of big teams, especially in the SEC, would have pursued him, as he was an All-American and All-Pac-12 honorable mention as a freshman at right guard, an All-Pac-12 honorable mention as a sophomore, sharing time between right tackle and right guard, while finishing his junior year off as an All-Pac-12 honorable mention once more, while splitting time equally at right and left tackle in his final season. Savaiinaea plays with a good pad level. He's strong as an ox, moves very well for a man his size, and he isn't a liability pulling, reach blocking, or in open space. He isn't stiff in his lower half or a slow mover to the second level. While he has that nasty side you want to see from your trench players, especially on the interior of the offensive line. It's hard to win leverage wars against him because not only can Savaiinaea deliver a ton of power at the point of attack or with his devastating punch, he takes on power really well too from defenders, absorbing the contact with a solid anchor held up by the sturdy foundation of his strong lower half. He's just not a guy you're going to see put on his heels by a bull rush very often, if at all. I see Savaiinaea as a really good pass blocker and run blocker. Passes off blocks well, makes his pre-snap and post-snap IDs across the line for movement, indicating blitzes, loopers coming his way, stunts, etc. And he's always looking to make a block. Savaiinaea only give up 8 sacks and 45 pressures through his 3 seasons at Arizona, but none of those sacks and only 15 of those pressures came at right guard, while he allowed 3 sacks at both right tackle and left tackle. There are a few big questions regarding Savaiinaea in his upcoming rookie season with the Miami Dolphins. Firstly, the most obvious being exactly when the second-round draft pick will sign his rookie deal, as a league-wide, they haven't been signing. Only 2 second-round picks have signed their deals so far, Carson Swessinger and Jaden Higgins, which were both drafted before Savaiinaea. Next biggest question is where Savaiinaea will play in training camp, the preseason and start the season, right guard or left guard. The more ideal fit would be at right guard, but due to the previously mentioned James Daniels, who just signed with Miami, it seems we could see Daniels at right guard, Savaiinaea at left guard. Though if Daniels isn't fully recovered from his torn Achilles to begin the season, that could change, I suppose. In my opinion, though, whether on the right side or the left side, not only is he a breath of fresh air for a guy like Aaron Brewer that was flanked by the likes of Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones last season at the guard positions, I truly believe if he's next to Austin Jackson, he can elevate Jackson's game like when Robert Hunt was in Aqua and Orange. Or if he's next to Armstead's replacement, Patrick Paul, he can give the second-year tackle a dependable, stabilizing force next to him that will help ease him into that starting role. When the Miami Dolphins drafted Robert Hunt in 2020 out of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, when he was primarily a right tackle, I sat up here and told everyone he was a future Pro Bowler at guard, and guess what? I think we found the same thing in Jonah Savaiinaea, and the same can be said about his future as a Miami Dolphin. I see a foundational piece for the present and the future of the offensive line in Miami that will show up day in and day out to keep his quarterback clean, open up run holes in the run game, and give the Dolphins that no-nonsense, nasty edge they've been missing when it comes to the war in the trenches. I think they hit an absolute home run with Jonah Savaiinaea, and I cannot wait to see him on the field. Greer, make sure this gets taken care of and make sure he's on the field for camp, please. All right? So I'm big on Jonah Savaiinaea. I'm higher on him than I was on Robert Hunt. All right? And I was a massive Robert Hunt guy coming out. I basically nailed that. And I'm telling you right now, this kid's going to be something. Savaiinaea is going to be something. All right? Now, you know what we got to do. We got to get to the thunderbolt of the backfield, and that is Ollie Gordon. After taking young ascending star Devon Achane in the 3rd round with the 84th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, and then trading up to take Jalen Wright with the 120th pick in the 4th round of the 2024 NFL Draft, Miami Dolphins took another running back for the 3rd straight year under Mike McDaniel's regime in Ollie Gordon II from Oklahoma State. Gordon's 2023 collegiate season was outstanding. He posted 1,732 rushing yards, 21 touchdowns, averaged 6.08 yards per carry, while adding 330 receiving yards and receiving touchdown, which all helped him land 5th in Heisman voting for the trophy, while taking home the Doak Walker Award as a top running back in college, as well as being named a unanimous All-American Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year and earning first-team all Big 12 honors. 2024, though, is a bit of a different story, as poor quarterback play allowed defenses to game plan more attentively towards Gordon, and although the offensive line returned its 5 starters from Gordon's massive 2023 campaign, they clearly regressed in front of him. On top of all that, it just felt like Ollie Gordon never settled in and found his groove like he did the year prior, as his rushing yard total dipped to 880 yards. His yards per carry dropped to 4.63 yards. He scored only 13 touchdowns on the ground. His receiving numbers dropped to only 170 yards, though he still had 1 touchdown through the air like the previous season. When you dive into the film, it's hard not to get excited about the flashes you see on tape and the potential Ollie Gordon has to be a nice upside addition to the Miami Dolphins stable of running backs. What's also nice too, is that Gordon brings a bit of a different skill set to the room. He's 6'2", 225, and even though he may not have the east-west explosiveness or cutting ability of Achane or even a Wright, he has a type of power to his game you like to see that can absorb contact, keep his legs churning, or he can drop his shoulder and lower the boom to an oncoming defender. Gordon's power shows up in his blocking prowess, as he's willing and fully capable to get his hands dirty, while quite frankly, he's efficient at it. Overall, he just embraces the physical aspect of the game, as 1,670 of his 2,612 rushing yards the last few years, they've come after contact. His 4.61 40 time at the combine may not have been very impressive, but he's one of those players that seems to play a bit faster when the lights turn on, and it's really noticeable with his ability to accelerate really well once he hits that second level, especially for a runner with the type of frame he has. Gordon also has some sneaky elusiveness to his game. He forced 109 tackles by defenders over the last 2 seasons to be missed, which is in part due to his vision, which I think is very underrated, and his understanding of which angles to take against defenders in the open field. Where I do think Gordon's game needs improvement, besides producing more explosive plays, which is an area he regressed big time in 2024, is that he tends to run a little too upright, which can lead to easy tackles for defenders, while he also has suffered from being a little too careless with the pigskin, being charged with 4 fumbles over the last 2 seasons, but those are all fixable. What can't be fixed, and it is what it is at this point, is that no one is going to mistake Ollie Gordon for the athlete Achane is, or even Wright is for that matter, as there's not a ton of twitchiness or explosiveness to his game. All his bursts, change of direction ability, and overall agility, they're just okay on tape. I'm not expecting much from Alexander Mattison this year, and even if he does surprise me, I think I got to see what you have in Ollie Gordon too, out of the gates instead of holding it back like the staff has done with Achane or Wright in their rookie years. If you can tap into and harness some, if not all, of that magic Ollie Gordon had in 2023 as a pro, you could have something special on your hands. Though I do think Wright and Achane are more talented and diverse backs with higher end athletic profiles, especially in this offensive scheme that will be hard to displace on the depth chart for Gordon, especially if the offensive line stays healthy and finally becomes respectable. All that said, if the money isn't in the budget for Achane's second contract due to him playing himself into too high of a price bracket, given the market, it would be nice for them to strike gold with Gordon as an insurance policy to that hypothetical situation alone. Jalen Wright had 68 carries and 6 targets as a rookie, while Achane, who flashed how dynamic he was right away when given his opportunities, finished with 103 carries and 37 targets as a rookie. While I think it's a safe bet to think Gordon's touches and targets may fall around Jalen Wright's rookie season. With Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson's Jr.'s departure, that opens up around 101 carries and 26 targets needing to replace. So I do think there's a role and future in Miami for Ollie Gordon II. As long as Gordon continues to get better as a blocker at the next level while embracing the physical side of the game, lowering his pad level and taking care of the football better, he offers a nice change of pace back to both Achane and Wright, forcing another aspect in the run game defensive coordinators hopefully have to take notice of on game day. And we'll see how it all does play out. But I am high on Ollie Gordon. I think, I would be looking to give him opportunities over Mattison until he proved me otherwise, right? Until he made some costly mistakes, That's where I'd be at with Ollie Gordon. I'm telling you, if you can capture what he was doing in 2023, oh boy. Oh boy. You could have a nasty 3-headed monster in Miami between Wright, Achane, and Gordon. So, man, there is a lot of potential to that kid. The upside is clearly there, and you kind of already know what Alexander Mattison is. I'm betting on the upside when it comes to this one. Really, I am. All right. Now, Quinn Ewers, another accurate distributor of the ball. The carousel of backup quarterbacks for the Miami Dolphins kept on turning this offseason as the Miami Dolphins moved off of Tyler Huntley and failed 7th-round project Skylar Thompson, replacing them with bust thus far Zach Wilson Jr., so a former 2nd overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft, who was hoping to shed that label under Mike McDaniel and former Texas Longhorns quarterback Quinn Ewers, who the Miami Dolphins selected in the 7th round of this year's draft with the 231st pick. Viewers of this channel are very familiar with Ewers and his game, not just from watching him in college, but also how I was preaching since August 2024 that he was a McDaniel guy and someone I was convinced they were targeting in the draft. Exactly how it all played out. You also remember how I spoke with Corey Mose, who covers the Longhorns, and he relayed to me, and I relayed to you all, that everyone thought Mike McDaniel and his staff were enamored with Xavier Worthy at the Texas 2023 Pro Day, and it was in fact Quinn Ewers that they spent the most time with and paid the closest attention to. So it's safe to say he's in fact a Mike McDaniel guy. To say Ewers' college tape was interesting is an understatement. He originally committed to Texas in 2020 and then decommitted instead of opting to join Ohio State to pursue a big nil deal. After a year on the bench at Ohio State with Steve Sarkisian, now the coach at Texas, Ewers entered the transfer portal December 2021 and returned to Texas where he originally committed. Heading into the 2024 college season, Ewers was being selected in the top 10 in most way too early mock drafts as the expectations were through the roof for himself and the whole Texas program. So the fall to 231 must have been a very humbling experience that he hopefully uses as a driving force to be great at the pro level. For being not only a 5-star recruit, but also the number 1 recruit in the nation and only the 6th player ever to receive a perfect recruiting rating, it's safe to say that being named an honorable mention to the All Big 12 in 2023 and second team All SEC in 2024 with no national championships to show for his play and efforts, well, Ewers didn't come anywhere close to living up to all that hype and expectations that started surrounding him in the summer of 2018 when he had completed 8th grade and received his first major collegiate offer from the Ohio State Buckeyes. All that said, though, Quinn Ewers has the opportunity to not only redeem himself a bit, but also start the hype train up again if he puts in the work needed in developing his game and staying healthy, because there may be no better fit in the NFL for Ewers and his skill set than Mike McDaniel's offense in Miami. Ewers is 6'2", 214, and is at his best in his comfort zone, making quick, accurate, and well-placed throws on time throughout the short to intermediate levels of the field, along when he's attacking the middle of the field. Ewers displays good anticipation, can lead receivers in stride, and has a decent drive on the ball from the short to intermediate levels as well. He also shows the ability to extend plays and create out of structure while being able to throw from different arm slots, angles, and off platform. I think what gets overlooked too is that Ewers isn't afraid of competition and was able to stave off Arch Manning for 2 seasons while he's made some big throws and big moments and big games on tape, like against Arizona State in the Peach Bowl, and his game-clinching double overtime winning throw to Gunnar Helm after having to throw a game-tying touchdown in the first overtime to Matthew Golden. Where Quinn Ewers' game starts to take a step back is with the drive and velocity he can get to the deeper levels, as well as the accuracy starts to waver when he throws deep too. I think his presence in the pocket and ability to navigate it is just okay. If a defense gets consistent pressure on him, that's when you see his footwork and mechanics start to get shoddy. And he feels more like a high floor as opposed to a high ceiling type of player. Injuries are also a major issue for Ewers, dating back to his senior year in high school when he missed 6 games due to a sports hernia injury. Since then, he's missed time in college with a sprained left ankle, a grade 2 AC joint sprain in his throwing shoulder, and an ankle sprain and a strained oblique. I've been pretty open and honest with how I see Ewers fitting into the Miami Dolphins QB room. I think due to the guaranteed money given to Zach Wilson, who I call Junior, barring an injury to Wilson, it's going to be impossible, almost next to impossible for Ewers to crack that QB2 role, which I don't agree with at all. I think the best man and player deserves the ball, money deserves the job, money be damned. I want to see who balls. We are a long way from even getting to that point or even starting to have that conversation, though. In my opinion, Quinn Ewers' skill set is much more ideal for Mike McDaniel's offense than Zach Wilson's because of how good Ewers is on short to intermediate level with touch accuracy, ball placement, timing throws, and everything else I mentioned. He really did well as a passer, while Wilson struggles in all those areas despite being the better athlete and having the bigger arm. Ewers should be attacking training camp and this season with a massive chip on his shoulder, driven by what his pre-college expectations were to how it has all worked out to this point. But I do think Ewers is a long-term play for McDaniels. I see the vision and potential, though. McDaniel and his staff are tired of making round pegs fit into, square holes with the recent profiles and skill sets they've had with their backups, and have targeted a player in Ewers that does a lot of things Tua does, just not on the elite level Tua does. I am much higher in this selection than I was on Skylar Thompson. And I do see a world where Ewers can become the best backup of the Mike McDaniel era in terms of scheme fit and ability to operate the offense if Tua does get hurt. But as I said earlier, though, we are quite a ways away from even having that conversation, and it's all on Quinn Ewers from this point on if we'll even have that conversation one day. So, I like what I see in Ewers. It's just on him if he can live up to becoming that ideal backup quarterback in Miami, because the skill set is there, the strength to his game, they're all there to fit into this scheme. So we'll see. But I'm higher on him, much higher on him than I was on Skylar Thompson. And I think, like I said, the better athlete is Zach Wilson. The better arm is Zach Wilson, but not the better pocket passer. Let me tell you that much. That is clearly Quinn Ewers. So that is how I see it playing out at quarterback. So that's what I got for you. Those are my prospect profiles. That is how I see everything playing out. My bad for having Robert Jones on that depth chart. I don't know why he was. I do apologize for all of that, but we'll make sure the next one is tighter. All right, so I will be back this week. There's over 250 of you in the chat. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And I'm going to get out of here. Until next time, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. We'll see y'all on the next one. Fins up, everyone.